Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of El Koki Otaku. Today with us, we have a very special guest. They give the voice to Gashin Tezuka in AMAIM Warrior at the Borderland, Akira in Genshin Impact, Bloodleft Kaiser in Fruit of Evolution, Ryōta Satō in My Unique Skill Makes Me OP even at level 1. And I always have to say that as we keep going, the anime titles are gonna keep turning into essays. And also Sirius Hiver in World Reincarnation. So please give it up for Patrick Maley.
Wow. I was not expecting a lot of applause there, but thank you. That really makes me feel happy.
We gotta applaud you guys.
I have to confess.
Gotta bring you on stage.
I was kind of nervous. I was like, is Kiara going to read all his lists? Because every time we have a big list on the editing, I'm like, I'm going to spend an hour editing this 1 minute of a list of peers. But thank you, Kiara, and thank you so much, Patrick.
Thank you guys for having me on here. This is such a fun thing. I admittedly, when you sent me that email about it, I was like, wow, this is cool. And then I saw the names of the other people that you guys have interviewed, like Natalie Van Sistine, Bradley Gareth, a lot of wonderful, wonderful friends of mine as well. So it was really, really great to actually be a part of this and to just talk about my journey, talk about how I got here, what I've been doing so far, and, everything of that nature, So yeah, thank you guys.
But I had to confess, what really impressed me is how fast you respond to emails. Like, I sent you the email in minutes. Every time I sent you an email, it didn't take more than 20 minutes. And I'm like, I should feel shame on myself because I take over hours or days to respond to the WhatsApp chat, and I see you respond to email like this. Like, okay, I should learn from that.
I take months.
Yeah, I think it's because I was so bad with checking emails when I was in high school. Like, I was really bad about. We had emails for my high school, because we had a school email and everything, and I was always really bad about checking it. So I needed to put myself in it. So, and then when I started doing this, because this is my job, I always got to keep an eye on it. And basically, on my phone, on the mail app, there's no numbers or anything. It's basically all clear. I am that dedicated. I am that crazy where every time I see something, I'm like, check. And then it's just goes from there. That's how crazy I am about checking emails. And sometimes I get always really anxious sometimes when I send one because I'm like, oh God, are they going to respond? Are they going to get back to me? That kind of thing. It's always really, I'm very crazy about that, but yeah, I'm very quick about responding because of that. So,
or read it back after you send it. Let me go back read it. Oh, I think I have to. I have to confess, I used to think I was a pro answering email, but I just realized I'm at level 1 after seeing you how fast you respond. And speaking about level 1, one of your latest series in the anime world, Ryota, my unique skill makes me OP level. Damn, that's too long.
My unique skill makes me OP even at level 1. It's I know it's a really weird title. It's I was asking around, and apparently in Japan they do have these things where they have mangakas will actually have contests to basically have their story published, and the way they do it is they create these really crazy titles, and a lot of times with the isekai titles they tend to be so crazy. It's funny, the actor who voiced with me in Unique Skill, Kelsey Mayer, she actually was in a show 2 seasons ago. I think it was I cannot remember the name of it, but it was called I got a cheat skill in another world and it was unrivaled in this world or something. I cannot remember the title. It was like a paragraph. This was at least easy for me to memorize because I went in and saw it every day, so I knew what the title was. But no, I could not remember that title of the show Kelsey was in for the life of me, and I was like, what is going on? What is with these titles? But apparently it's a very common thing in Japan with isekai titles especially. And it's funny, my mom, because she watched the show, and this is weird, my mom and my parents don't usually know a lot about anime, but they got the title of the show. They're like, what does OP mean? I'm like, oh, it means overpowered. It means overpowered. Like Kirito in Sword Art Online, overpowered. I mean, he's a beater, so it makes sense. Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, then why not just write overpowered? And you're like, okay, have you seen how long the title is? We can't write such a long
We can't
word.
add another one to it. Like, come on. That would not, like, it also doesn't really ring well. Like, my unique skill makes me overpowered. It kind of makes the protagonist seem like a jerk, at least from that perspective, you know? So, yeah.
Talking about long title, one of my favorite anime, we have said it before, and we're not going to talk about this one today, but Higehiro. After being rejected, I shaved and took in high school runaway. How people know it? Higehiro. But I mean,
Higehiro, yeah.
Or OP also have a slime, which I just forget the long name of slime.
Yeah.
But everybody know about slime. But this series, it was so refreshing when I saw it on summer first. First, it just surprised me that it was one of the first anime series announced with English dub cast, if I'm not wrong. That it was like, finally, summer is here. Boom, we had the first cast, and I think it was Simul dub. Yeah, it was Simul dub.
Yeah.
So, for those who haven't seen this series yet, how would you describe it?
I would describe my unique skill. It's a very wholesome isekai. Do you guys mind if I give a brief little summary, like a sort of decent synopsis?
That's the point.
Okay. So for those who haven't seen the show, it's about a man named Ryōta Satō, and he is reincarnated into this fantasy world where everything is basically like a video game. And the way that it works is you have these enemies and you have to kill them. And then when you kill them, they drop items and you take the items and then they go from there. And as you get more items and you build up your skills, you level up. It's basically like a video game. And he gets reincarnated into this world and he meets this other person in the world named Mealey. And like they kind of like go around the whole world and they start building their rep and everything. And the thing with Ryota is he is stuck at level 1. Like the first time like we see a skill, he's level 1 out of 1, and everybody is just like, wait, what does this mean? Does that mean he's weak? But then it's revealed that like his skill is maxed out at rank S. So every time he fights enemies, he can get them and he'll get really great drops from these enemies. And then as the show goes on, like we meet new characters, like we meet Erza, who's the shopkeeper. We meet Eve, who's this kind of bunny girl character obsessed with carrots, who constantly calls him low level because she like doesn't like low levels. And then we meet character Celeste, who's this really powerful fire mage. And later we meet another character around the end of the series named Alice Wonderland, who is just this cute like little character who like has the kind of a really great abilities to talk to creatures and everything. I won't say too much, but yeah, to describe it, it's very wholesome. It's a very kind of nice feel good show. It's very comedic. You know, it has like a lot of fun moments to it. Like but it's also it's just I found it really refreshing when I went in because you know a lot of shows like especially in the isekai genre, some of them you know kind of you see the story over and over again like and you know you kind of can tell what it is, and sometimes some can be more raunchier than others. But this one, it was a nice relaxing feel good show, and playing Ryota was such a nice like kind of like thing to try. And you know for my first ever main character, like leading character in a show, it was really, really fun to explore this everyman who, you know, is a little goofy, but he's very good-hearted. He wants to look out for everybody, and he's really a hard worker, and he just keeps going. And I related to him so much on a personal level because I was somebody that has really like values hard work and has always been really pushing myself in best the way that I can. So his story really resonated with me, and it was just a fun experience to work on that show. Mike McFarlane was the director. He's an amazing director at Funimation Crunchyroll. He really brought the most out of me, and he was so supportive, so kind. Like I had nothing but the best time working on that show, and I highly recommend if you're looking for it. It's a really awesome show. Actually, the funny thing is, recently I went to Barnes and Noble, and I went to the manga section, and the manga or the light novel is actually there. Hold on, I'm actually going to show it to you guys right now.
Yeah, go for it.
I actually have it right here on my table outside my booth. This is the light novel, and I went and bought it, and I've been reading it, and the light novel's really great. It's like I said, really wholesome story, and also really big shout out to the other cast members in the show. Like obviously Kelsey Mayer, who played Emily, Jessica Peterson, who played Celeste, Trisha Mellon, who played Eve, Brittany Lauda, who played Erza, and of course Hayden Davio, who played Alice Wonderland, and just everybody in the series. They all did so well. Everybody was just so talented. So we all had a fun time working on the show, and I think it's a very wholesome, very fun show, and it was great. Like I kind of cried a little bit when it ended, but it was great. I had a great time working on it, and it's a great show, and I highly recommend people check it out if you're looking for a feel good isekai without all the crazy shenanigans, of most isekai out there these days, stuff like that. I think of it like that mostly.
I really love how toxic was Eve. Because everybody was afraid of her. Like she's intimidated many people.
Well, because she has that karate chop, that kills people. And in the second episode, beginning of the second episode, she goes up to she goes over to their house, and then she pulls one of her party mates over, chops him, and then there's blood spatter. And that scene, I literally the direction was scream, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna scream like I just saw someone being murdered, and then I did, and you can hear it in the second episode. It's blood curdling, because he screams a lot in the show. My favorite scene of him screaming probably was in episode 3, where he and Emily are gathering pumpkins, and then there's cockroach slimes, I think they're called, and it just goes completely crazy, and the screeching was so fun. I loved that. That was such a fun, probably my favorite moment in the show.
Wait, I have a question. Also,
yeah.
Because you said he screams a lot. When he screams, or when you're doing that blood curdling scream, do you have to step back from the mic so it doesn't clip?
Yeah, usually when we record at the studio, we have this little mat on the floor, and we sit and we always keep our feet on the mat to kind of keep ourselves equidistant from the mic. And of course the engineer adjusts us as we go along and everything. It's different when we're doing remote recording from home. If I was doing it from home, I'd have to turn the gain down on my microphone because I'm in this booth, and I'm not engineering the session, but I am responsible for making sure levels are okay. But there, I mean, we don't have to do anything. We just get to act, and the engineers do all the work. God bless the engineers at Crunchyroll, because they're the best. They make such magic with their work. Especially the engineers I've seen work on a lot of these really recent shows. They're all really great. But yeah, I never had to worry about clipping.
I never asked it before to nobody we have interviewed, but you just mentioned when you found for the first time the manga on the store. How was that feeling, seeing the work that you're just doing just right there in the booking shelf? Oh my god, I got to buy.
It was so surreal, honestly. Because I had never. It's funny because I do read manga more casually. I'm not a huge collector. My buddy Zach Elliott, he collects all mangas of One Piece and everything. I'm not as big into it. I'm a casual manga reader, but actually seeing something that I voiced in and seeing it on the shelves, I'm like, wow, this is so cool. I did not expect it. But it was so awesome going to the store, and you just see it on the shelf, and you could buy it, pick it up, and then read it. That's what really felt right. It felt great. It was so surreal. Especially, it's interesting because one of the first show I ever voiced in, which we can talk about that in a minute, didn't have any manga to base it off. It was an original anime that just started from there, because some shows are based on mangas or light novels, but others just are made to go from there. They're just okay, this is the show, let's do it from there. Evangelion was similarly not made with a manga. It was kind of made just as a show initially. Or one of my personal favorites, two of my personal favorites, Cowboy Bebop, didn't have a manga it was based off of, and neither did another favorite show of mine, which is so underrated, Eureka 7, which I really hope people check out that show. It's so good. Wait, you know it?
I know it. Of course I know it.
Oh my god, thank you. Nobody knows what that show is, and I'm so sad because it's such a great show. It's a great mech anime with great characters, and nobody watches it, and I'm so mad. It is such a great show. Seriously.
It is nostalgia. I think I saw it for the first time in Toonami late night. Toonami or Locomotion, one of those channels for anime a few years ago. And I saw it, and I'm like, wait, Eureka 7, let me see this. And I saw all the drama this season, I think that was one of my first anime going to more darker and moving on from
very relatable protagonist with Renton Thurston, and you got the character Eureka, who's a character who grows throughout the series, and it's also I like the romance aspect of it because you have these two characters who you see their relationship flourish throughout the series. It's not like, oh, I love you, like that's it. It's like it takes a lot of time to develop it, and when you see it actually pay off, that's where it really comes forward, and I love that show. I remember also watching an interview because everybody I meet says like, oh, Eureka 7. I'm like, no, it's not Eureka 7. Stop. Because like everybody's just like, Eureka 7. I'm like, stop. It's not right. And but I read a story that apparently when they were first recording it back in like 2006, and this was done at Bang Zoom, I think, they said Eureka for I think the first 2 or 3 episodes, and then they got a call from the Japanese client. They were like, you guys are saying the name wrong. And Stephanie Shea, who played Eureka, only said her name like twice. So she like only had to go in like for two lines, and that was it. And she said in an interview, like the interviewer was like, oh, well, it's just like, hey guys, like good to see you. It's like, no, it's less money for me because they got called in and they got to record more. Like, it's like, no, that's just so funny.
How's the proper way? I always call it from Spanish, Eureka 7, which is super wrong, I know. So how's the proper way to call it, the name?
Eureka or Eureka.
Also, not too far.
Yeah,
Eureka
not too far up. Yeah. That was, you got it actually. Spanish. I was about to say, you got it really right on the first time I heard you say it.
In Puerto Rico, I'm like Eureka 7. That's the way I saw it.
You got it right, yeah.
Well, when I was talking to you, because I was English mode, I thought it was like Eureka. So like,
yeah, most people think it. Most people say Eureka when they say it. I'm like, no, that's not it, please. But now every time I see the word Eureka, like maybe it's because I've watched it and I just think about it. But yeah, that's actually that's what I think of now when I see the word Eureka on screen. It's just like, oh, like I just think of now that pronunciation because now it's so ingrained in my memory. Because again, one of the first animes I watched, I think I watched it probably in high school because I was a casual anime fan. Like most of like. I'm gonna go into my anime experience now. This is gonna be interesting because when I was a kid, I grew up watching. I was exposed to anime as a kid, because my parents got like VHS tapes and like the VHS tapes. I'm that old.
We're that old.
Yeah, but I got like a. They used to get me copies of like Sailor Moon. I watched the original Sailor Moon dub. They had this show, I think it was called My Favorite Fairy Tales, which was an anime. I didn't know it was at the time, but I later found out it was. It was like done by Saban, I believe. And then there was, of course, Pokemon was a big thing that every kid grew up watching, and Yu-Gi-Oh, which was my personal favorite, as also Speed Racer. I really loved Speed Racer as a kid. My dad and I were huge fans of that. So I was exposed to it very early on, and I think I realized what it was as I got into middle school, because then I started watching Studio Ghibli films, and I was like, oh, this is so cool. And then when I was in high school, I started watching Bleach and Cowboy Bebop and Naruto and One Piece, and I was like, this all makes sense. This is so cool. So that was kind of my exposure to it. And then of course I've watched a lot of the films that have come out too. Like I was a big fan of Summer Wars, Wolf Children, Your Name, Weathering with You, and of course Belle by Mamoru Hosoda. That was that's my favorite anime film of all time. Like that number one. It surpassed like my top 3 favorite anime films currently are Belle, Your Name, Spirited Away, and then list goes on. I'll give you guys like a giant list of my favorite shows.
But why Belle? Why is Belle your favorite?
I think when I saw it, it really was the first thing I saw that emotionally really got me. I feel like because when I watched Spirited Away, like I saw Spirited Away when I was 3 years old, like in theaters, and then like I later rented it, so I knew about it from a young age. And Your Name had that similar connotation because I just connected with it. But something about Belle, especially the music, and the actress Kylie McNeil in the dub, really, really captured it. And when you listen to it and you listen to the soundtrack, it's just the most beautiful songs you could ever imagine. And I remember like the animation, especially like when you go into the virtual world, it's so vibrant and colorful. And it's a great message about like, loss and, forgiveness and helping others. Like, I think that's why it's one of my favorites. And it definitely, I consider it probably the magnum opus of Mamoru Hosoda. It's also the only anime film I've shown my mom that she actually really enjoyed. Yeah, no, I showed it to my mother and I told her, Mom, you got to sit down and watch this. And she watched it. And I think the first 15 minutes, she was like, this is not like anything I've ever seen animated before. This is really good. And she loved the music, especially. It was great.
Oh, yes.
It took her a while to get some of the anime-ism. It does have some of those moments where it goes completely off the wall and kind of crazy. But I think like once I kind of got her through that, like she really got invested in the story and all that. And it's just, I won't spoil it too much, but I will say, anybody out there, go watch Belle. It is so good. Great movie. Also go watch Inuo. Inuo is another really great anime film that just that's been out recently, which my buddy Joshua Waters is in, and I heavily support him. Josh, or them. Sorry, Josh, if you're there. Love you, buddy.
Wait, how do you spell it? How do you spell it? How do you spell that one?
Inuo. INU-OH.
Okay.
Yeah, it's another film that actually got a Golden Globe nomination for Best Animated Feature last year, but didn't get an Oscar nomination. And I don't understand why. Like, Academy, nominate some anime, please.
Agreed. Because there have been some really good anime films lately.
Yeah.
And when I'm going to sidetrack here just a little bit. Personally, like, yes, there has been some very good anime films. The thing is, at least here in the US, it's still not considered. Well, it's considered mainstream, at least for us and for the kids, especially because of Netflix. But for like the older generations, they like, oh, that's for kids. Like those are cartoons, Japanese cartoons. And then they nominate and have films like anything regarding Marvel winning, and we're like, oh, it's the same thing over and over and over again.
Or it's also Disney constantly winning, which honestly is just exhausting. Like, that's why last year I was really glad that a non-Disney film took the award home with Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, but again, I want to see more anime get nominations, even if it's like Ghibli or something. I think Your Name would have been a great film to be nominated, because like I saw the nominated films that year. You had Coco, you had Loving Vincent, I think another film was called Ferdinand, and then Boss Baby. And I was like, why did
Boss Baby?
Right, yeah, no, Boss Baby? You nominated Boss Baby, but you didn't want to nominate Your Name? Like, come on, guys. This is like a good film here. Like,
tell me Coco won. Please tell me Coco won.
Coco did win, yeah.
Okay.
Thank God, because that's a great film. Yeah. I mean, like, I think, honestly, it's funny, because like nowadays, like, I'm kind of thinking of like with the awards coming up now, I've been thinking about like what my ideal list would be. Like, and that's the thing. I have a very complicated relationship with the Academy Awards. Like, last year they did really well, especially with giving awards to Everything Everywhere All at Once. Love that movie. Go watch it.
Yeah. Watch it.
And also with awarding, actors like Brendan Fraser and Michelle Yeoh, Ki Huy Kwan. I really was blown away by that. But I also do think that, like, with the animation category, like, because I've seen all the films that have been coming out this year. Like, you got Across the Spider-Verse, which is great. You got TMNT Mutant Mayhem. You got the Chicken Run sequel coming out next month, I believe.
True.
That's Aardman. I mean, Aardman's great. You got Nimona, which is a Netflix film that just came out.
That was a good one. I like that one.
Yeah, really great one. But then you don't really have a lot from Disney or DreamWorks this year. I mean, you have Wish coming up soon, which obviously, I mean, it looks like a great film, but I want to see films nominated that are kind of outside places like Disney, because I feel like Disney has already done so much. I feel like it's good to give it to people, especially animators who are, just really talented at their craft. Like, and I hope there's actually one film that I'm praying will get nominated that is anime, and that's How Do You Live, or The Boy and the Heron, the new Ghibli film, which is supposedly going to be Miyazaki's last film. I hope it is, because I'm like, Mr. Miyazaki-san, please, you need to retire. Go play some golf. Please enjoy your life.
Enjoy life.
Please retire. You've already done a lot. Please.
That's true. I mean, not because we don't appreciate his work. It's because he needs to also enjoy life. He contributes so much to the industry. But like, give some time to yourself and family, because life is only once. And You want to hear something awful I did to my family?
Oh gosh.
So my mom, in Puerto Rico, quick, fast. The origin of this podcast is because in Puerto Rico, anime is like a taboo. It's childish. It's just for kids. It's immature the way they see it. When we moved here to United States on the East Coast, we noticed that the culture in the anime was so advanced, acceptance in the society. And when we started the podcast, we realized that Latin America is way more accepted. So we're like, how in the world there's some behind over there? So behind that, a few days ago, I'm starting now in the radio when they invite me to speak about anime, and sometimes I see other people who talk about movie stuff, and I see yesterday this guy who's commenting about one new anime series coming up to Netflix tomorrow,
Scott Pilgrim.
Scott Pilgrim
Against the World, or that one.
The movie is called Scott Pilgrim versus the World, and then there's the series which is based on called Scott Pilgrim, and then you got the animated anime series called Scott Pilgrim Takes Off, which has the whole movie cast reprising their roles, which is honestly really cool. Because I really like, it's funny. I remember a lot of people were thinking like, oh my god, they do a Scott Pilgrim anime. Who's going to play like Scott Pilgrim? I'm like, just get the movie cast, because the movie cast was really good, and they're all nerds. They're all like really well fitted for those characters. Like I saw clips of it. Michael Cera, I can't imagine anybody but Michael Cera playing Scott Pilgrim, like even in anime form. He is that good. Like I'm very excited for that though, because I love Scott Pilgrim.
Me too. I saw the movie the other night, and I'm ready for the anime series. But this guy, he's talking about the radio, talking about the episode to come, and I couldn't believe they cut him like 5 seconds after he starts. So when he say anime, you can see the speaker. Here we go again to anime. And I'm like, dude, let him speak. And like, the cast, and they pull they cut it off of her air, and I'm like, how in Puerto Rico is so difficult to bring that step. So my mom, part of that generation, doesn't believe in anime before. And one day I'm like, hey, you should try to watch this series. And I had to lie to her, like, this is from the same creator of Disney. And she's like, are they Disney? Because you say Disney. Oh, it's great then. Doesn't matter. So I say, it's Disney, it's the same company. I mean, they're not the same company, but they work together. I was like, sorry, mom. And okay, go give it a try. That series was Your Lie in April.
Your Lie in April, my god, that was one of my. I remember watching that back in 2016 around holiday season. I just had surgery, and I was like, recovering at home during the holiday season, while I was also on vacation from college, and I was watching a lot of anime, and I watched Your Lie in April. Oh, my heart, that series emotionally devastated me, especially when it got to the climax with those characters. And God, Max Mittelman, Erica Lindbeck, both were perfectly cast for those parts. Like nobody could have played those parts but those two. They just had it. And I love the music appreciation too, especially as a musician myself. I feel like I really love the kind of approach and talking about music and just the love of it and just things like that. It's such a good show. Oh my God. I love it.
So my mom called me after she finished the last episode. And she said, hey, hello, I hate you. Like, what I did? I hate you. You made me watch this series. It was beautiful. I love it. I cried like a stupid old lady next to your dad for the last 3 episodes. I hate you.
Can you just imagine, just imagine her
But recommend me more. And I'm like, okay, it works. I'm glad. Welcome to the anime world. And after that, she started watching Attack on Titans.
Oh yeah.
You're Weathering with You, Your Name, and she's an otaku already.
Yeah, but I'm still trying to corrupt my family into it because my sisters aren't really fans of it. Neither is my mom or my dad. I mean, like I said, my mom and dad are they're boomers and they grew up during the time when anime was starting to come into into it. Well, not even for kids. No, they grew up around the time that Speed Racer came out in the States. And that was something that, was kind of the first of its kind to come in, along with Astro Boy and a lot of other anime series. I think Gundam started around that time. But yeah, no, they brought those to the States and that was their exposure to it. Honestly, it's funny, having seen the Speed Racer myself, admittedly, that's kind of a pipe dream of mine. Is I'd love to voice, if they ever did decide to redub Speed Racer, I don't know if they would, but if they could, I would love to voice like the titular character, particularly in the Japanese version, because the Japanese version I found out is called Maka Go Go Go, and the character's original name is Gomifune. It's not actually Speed Racer. That was a name change that they came up with. But it's so embedded now, people know what Speed Racer is. They don't really... It's funny, if you take Speed Racer and then you say like Maka Go Go Go, they're like, what's Maka Go Go Go? But if you say Speed Racer, they're like, oh, Speed Racer, yeah. Because it's so big in the cultural zeitgeist, I think. Like, a lot of people know what it is.
It's like the original Pokemon theme song. The one nobody knows the one in Japanese, but the entire world knows the one in English. So like it's basically the same thing.
Kind of like the Sailor Moon theme as well. Like people know that like fighting evil by moonlight, like winning love by daylight. They don't really think about the other theme as much, which I just watched the OG Sailor Moon like with the original names and stuff, and I'm like, this is so good. Like, honestly, and seeing it as someone, oh yeah, my thing's a little clear. Let me fix that. I'll
try to give you a signal. Like, how give you a signal to Patrick?
Yeah, I gotta fix that. I hate it when that happens. Okay,
there we go.
Yeah, but no, like I used to watch like Sailor Moon, and I remember seeing the different changes. Like, of course, they called Usagi Serena and all that, and like things like that. But I still think that looking back at the Deke dub, there were good things about it. Like, you had really talented actors involved in it. It brought anime to another audience, and then it created a fan base amongst people in the United States and in Canada where it was dubbed. And I think that overall, it's a really, really great exposure. And I love Sailor Moon. Like, I'm an unapologetic fan. Like,
quick side question. You said you were a musician. Is that like any instrument in particular, or a singer, or both? I
sing and I play guitar, and I play bass too.
Okay, so when you were like singing the Sailor Moon one, I was like, oh yeah, I'm vibing there. Yeah, like, keep going.
I got into, it's funny because I wanted to be a musician before I became an actor. And I remember like I studied guitar obsessively in high school. I would practice like I think 4 hours a day at most. And then like I started doing singing when I got into university to just kind of like, well, I got into it mostly to learn it, and I think it helped a lot with voiceover, like learning how to use the diaphragm and expanding my range and all that. I did choir all 4 years. I took singing lessons. But it definitely really has helped me a lot with voiceover, and also with dubbing specifically, because, you know, one of the biggest things they talk about in dubbing, the beep system, you know, like beep, 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 fourth imaginary beep, do your thing. I feel like I picked it up pretty quickly, because when I started doing dubbing, like I took dubbing classes and all that, I remembered like them mentioning that, and I'm like, okay, so rhythm. So I remembered like when I would watch the screen, I'd be like beep, 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 go. And then I would like kind of use my timing knowledge from playing guitar and singing to really kind of figure out where to go. And it just kind of like, I have a natural rhythm, so it kind of like managed to play out when I did it. So it really was an easy adaptation. I still do play music. I've just haven't done it like professionally. I would like to try and like do it a little more on the side. There's just no time because I'm constantly working. Like, and I use my voice so much, so it's like if you're doing your voice, you can't really go sing a show that night. So that's a big part of it. That's why, like, it's funny because I've also been trying to get involved in theater, and like I remember like thinking to myself, if I have to do a show, but I also get called in for like a gig or something, I feel like my voice is going to be so dead, I'm not going to be able to sing or act on stage. So I haven't gotten to that experience yet, but I'm hoping something will come from that eventually.
So how was that transition from high school music guitar to voice acting? Because
okay, well, I'm gonna go way back, like before I started playing guitar. It's my life story.
Who is Patrick Maley?
But I was always a really creative kid. I was always really into movies and music and all that, and like. It's funny, originally I went to college to study film. I originally went there to study film production, and like I got into the major, and then as I started doing it more, I kind of realized, as much as I love directing and all of that, I just kind of started to realize I didn't have as much the aptitude for film production as I thought I did. So instead of that, I kind of shifted my focus towards voiceover, because when I got to college, I met a guy who did like radio podcasts and stuff like for shows like and so I got to voice for one of his podcasts and I thought, wow, this is really fun. I want to do more of this. And then it just kind of went from there. I ended up like deciding to use all my electives to take acting classes and singing classes and all that to learn more about it. Like I studied like theater classes and stuff. I did like little things here and there. And then I bought myself a microphone, and then I went online on Twitter. I started using the Voice Acting Club Discord server. And then gradually things just built up. I started building my resume with indie animations and video games and stuff like that. And I graduated during the pandemic, like 2020. And we all, yeah, I know, worst time to graduate, right? And then I was back home. I didn't know what the heck I was going to do. So I invested in a good mic, which I still have right here, and a decent like recording space. And then I started just working. I took acting classes like via online with like, you know, all the places. Because I mean, back then when the pandemic was going on, there was a lot of like a boom in remote classes and things like that for voiceover. Graduated, and then I just went back home, started throwing myself into VO as much as I could, and I started getting involved in commercials, narration, audiobooks, and everything just to like build up a resume. And as I started taking classes, I managed to break into professional voiceover during that time in character work. Specifically, the first thing I actually got cast in after kind of dedicating myself was actually Genshin Impact, where I got cast as multiple NPCs for the route. Like the character I've gotten called back for a lot has been Akira in of the Arataki Ito gang in Genshin Impact. And then not long after that was my first anime, which was Gashin Tezuka in a show called AMAIM Warrior at the Borderline, which was a great title to work on. And ultimately, after taking a lot of that time and things started getting back to a sense of normalcy, I decided to move myself from Delaware, where I was living, to Dallas, Texas. And then I just broke into anime. Eventually, after living here for a few months, I got involved at Funimation Crunchyroll, and then it just kind of went from there. So it was a kind of sequence of events that just kind of led me into it. But I always feel like, as a performer, I think I'd always been an actor in a way. But I think that getting involved in voiceover really happened during college, and then I just took the bull by the horns when I realized it was something I enjoyed, and I just went with it, and that's really what it is.
You want to share your sad story? Kiara also graduated in the pandemic.
Oh my god!
But from her ND.
Oh my goodness!
So the moment you wait for your make a big investment in student loans, and the moment you can walk with that student loan on your shoulder, it's going to be the first virtual graduation. And we're like, well, let's bring the bottle of wine to open it here while we're on lockdown.
Yeah, definitely. It was crazy. It was a crazy time. But I think the pandemic as a whole did result in a lot of opening up opportunities for people outside of like the hubs of Los Angeles, Dallas, New York. Obviously, it is back to a sense of normalcy, but remote recording has definitely still stuck around in some way. And I know several performers that are still getting acting work outside of the major hubs, which I think is great. And I think it is something that is definitely going to continue for a long time. Obviously, it may shift a little bit, but I definitely think it's going to stick around for a long time.
No, but I agree with you. It's actually a very great thing that happened, because now people who thought, oh, I don't have a chance because I don't live in these hub cities, they're like, okay, now I can, and now I can break into the not business. What do you call it? Into the industry, yeah. I can break into the industry, and I can do this, and then that's a good thing, because now we're seeing a whole new generation of voice actors who probably would have never done this before, and saw that opportunity and seized it, and you're one of them, prime example.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of consider myself, it's weird because I think during the pandemic was going on, I was not in any of the hubs initially. I was living in Delaware at the time. I've since moved, and now I'm kind of part of the Dallas VO crew essentially, but I still do consider myself a remote talent with a lot of other work that I've done outside of like the Dallas scene. I still try to put myself out there in terms of other work in different spheres, because I spent a lot of money on this studio here. I want to use it,
as you should. Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
I hate to admit it, but sadly in history, hard moment or situation in history are the one that trigger advance in society in many other aspects. There's a big loss. And I don't want to go to start because I might get in trouble with you too, but we have some events that change industry in aviation, and now pandemic was another one that changed industry in everything.
Very much.
But talking about technology and changing lifestyle, you need to help me with this one. AMAIM Warrior at the Borderland with Gashin
Tezuka.
Why I keep ignoring my Spanish? Gashin Tezuka. I thought it was Gundam Wing. Help me here.
Oh, sorry. What was the question?
What?
I thought this was Gundam Wing when I saw the poster, and I confused it. Tell me in this one.
It was like definitely. It has a Gundam feel. I mean, I kind of also think of it as being sort of similar to Code Geass because it was made by Sunrise, which is an awesome studio that does a lot of mech anime. But yeah, no, like AMAIM was such a great experience working on it the first time. And people ask me like, who's your favorite character? And I feel bad getting that question because I always feel like it's like picking your favorite child. I'd be a terrible father. But like Gashin was really interesting for me because he was my first ever anime role, which was crazy because it was a lot of work. It was a character of 3 main characters in a series, and it was very like big. And the biggest challenge of playing Gashin for me was the fact that he's very cynical, he's very closed off, he's been through a lot, and I am in no way like that, and I had to really capture that character. And Griffin Puwatu, who directed it, and the show was done through NYAV Post, which is a wonderful studio that's done amazing shows and a lot of art house anime films. They really, really helped us to bring that in. And like Griffin had a real passion for the show, and he was very patient, but he was also very perfectionist with what he wanted out of everybody in the show. Like not just me, but Ryan McKean, who played Amo, the main character, and as well as Madeline Doro, who played Shion, and pretty much everybody who was involved in that series. So it was a great experience. Like I loved working on it, and honestly, I go back to it and I think to myself, you know what? This was great. This was honestly this was the beginning of starting in this field and really bringing myself out there. And even now I go look back at the cast and I see all the names. Like I see Rye, I see Maddie, I see Doug Erholtz, I see Mike McFarland, who was in it at one point. I'm like, what the heck is going on here? I am like, I feel like a fish out of water. It was so crazy for me, but it was a wonderful show. And it's funny because it's more like one of those underrated titles, like that kind of like, because there's some, you have the anime that comes out that's like some that are really big and popular, some that are like really cool. Then you got the ones that kind of fly under the radar a little bit. This was kind of one of those, which is a shame because I think it was such a great title. And I wish that there could have been a lot more publicity for it. But funny enough, I actually did find merch of some of the artwork because there's a character. There's these little characters that are like AI characters that interact with the main characters and they help pilot the Gundams or the mechs. I don't know what the heck they call them in the show.
The Gundam. You said it, not me.
Yeah, but there's like these little AIs, and I went after we wrapped the first arc of it. I bought these plushies of the AIs and I sent them to Rye and Maddie, and I have mine right here. This is the character K from the series.
So adorable.
Yeah, and she was played by Jackie Lastra, who did a great job and was a really fun person. Yeah, but I have this little one just sitting in my booth. I use it all the time. Oh, camera's getting a little there. I
thought you were going to say the Gundam, no, the Eva, no, I mean
the Angels,
the Mecha,
the Gundam, all this. Trying to make sure this thing's good. Oh my God!
Don't worry, we'll get there somehow.
We'll get there. There we go.
Talking about it's watching now. Damn it, I lost it. Oh, got it now. Game World Reincarnation, where you had the main role of Sirius Hiver, but those who haven't watched it like me, but are fine with any spoiler. What is it about?
Game World Reincarnation is a show about this office worker who dies in the office and gets reincarnated into her favorite dating sim as the main character, Diana DFL, who is the villain of the series. And she ends up, the main prince named Sirius Hiver falls in love with her, and he's trying to constantly get with her, but she's worried, no, this can't happen, otherwise we're going to get the bad ending. And it just kind of goes to and from this whole thing. But yeah, no, Game World it was a really great title to work on, and Michaela Laws, who directed me on it, was so fun to work with. She was very she was just so like, she made every session such a blast, her and like the team there. And not only that, the cast like list who we got, like specifically Yenny Ann, who played Deanna DFL, was a really, really great person to work with. It's funny because I didn't realize that it was so popular amongst people until after I was cast in it. I didn't even really know a lot about the show until I auditioned for it, and I saw it and I'm like, wow, this is really interesting. But yeah, no, like working with Ascendant Animation and working with Michaela and the team there, it was great. Like I have nothing but the best things to say about working with them, because Michaela just makes every session a fun time and just a really great experience. If you guys don't know who Michaela Laws is, go follow them. They are so amazing. Great actor.
Any funny scene from that series that you can remember? And I haven't watched it, I'm good for a spoiler, but I'm a drama person, and they have comedy in the drama, bring it. So any one of those moments that cross your mind?
Honestly, no, it's been a long time. I can't really think of anything. I think always just the moments where me and Yenny got to play off one another. Those were really fun. Like, I think I remember one specific time when I was recording it, because there's a scene where Sirius holds up this photograph, like just like, which is weird. It takes place in a weird, like, I don't know what time period it takes place, but they have the ability to take Polaroids, and I don't know what it was, but something in me when we were just recording it, I don't think it was recorded, but I went, look at this photograph! Like, just, I made a Nickelback reference.
Oh, wow.
I would have died laughing if that would have made it, if that would have made the cut.
Look at this photograph! You know, Nickelback's not as bad as people build them up to be. Like, they're all talented.
I agree.
I like that.
Yeah. Well, they
right.
go hate, yeah.
Quick question, because I wanna definitely talk about this, because this is I personally had never heard of this before until you mentioned it. I am talking about the visual novel "Dear Mom, My Letter to You." I didn't even know this was a thing. So for everybody else who's just like me and have no idea what this is about, like, first of all, what is a visual novel?
A visual novel is a form of, it's a kind of video game where you go through and you can choose different arcs and different kind of like endings, and it's how you interact with characters and make decisions. It's very much like that. Like, there's a lot of great
I know what it is
out
now.
there. Like, if you played Doki Doki Literature Club, that's kind of a visual novel in a way. But yeah, Dear Mom, My Letter to You is one that I worked on a few years ago, and it's made by a wonderful developer named Josh Martin. And he has a lot of great people involved, and it's a really beautiful story. And I play a character in it named Ginta Kawasaki, who's the older brother to the main character, Ayame, who's played by my friend Jenny Silverman. And it's like, it's funny, like, talking about that, because I always really look at a lot of the past indie titles that I've done before I moved to Dallas and before I kind of broke into doing anime. Like, I look at like a few titles that I think of off the top of my head that I really hold close to my heart are one is called War Islands, which is kind of an open sandbox game where I played a character named Jonathan. Beyond the Edge of Owlsguard, which was a point and click adventure game kind of inspired by a lot of classic Don Bluth movies and stuff like that. I played a character named Finn in that. So many off the top of my head. Oh my god, so many. Blush, which was a dating sim kind of thing, which is very popular on Steam. I played a character named Seth in that, and that was a pipe dream of mine personally, because all one of my friends got into that game, and I was like, I'm gonna be in that game. Just, yeah, like I look at a lot of those titles, like the indie titles, and some of these creators, like these animators and these game devs, they make such beautiful work. And I highly say for any actor that is wanting to get started, like voice-over specifically or voice acting, definitely look into into indie creators and animators and game devs. They are, in many ways, they create such amazing work. And you know, if they end up working later in the industry, you can go find them and like they might be able to help you get in. But also just the titles they make are so great. And I wear them on my heart so much because I have a lot of fond memories of working on them, and I think that they're just amazing titles like to work on and just amazing titles to play, because you see all the hard work that these people, or sometimes it's even just one guy, can put into making these games, and they're just so amazing. I love them so much.
That's honestly like so cool to hear, because we have interviewed other actors who say they've also worked with a lot of indie titles, or even indie titles like to start off their career, and it's just so great to see how there's an opportunity for people who are like, okay, if I can't get into like the voice acting career like right off like with Crunchyroll, how can I work my way and chip at it, and then boom, here I am, at least get the experience and be in something that people do consume, people do play a lot of.
Yeah, I think it's really great for everybody to start off in some way, because I mean, obviously we all want to get into anime, we all want to get into like big video games, but you know, you got to start in small before you get to the big one. And I think that indie titles are just the best way to do that. And not only that, these titles can become really well known online. Like I think of titles
and
like
called classics.
Yeah, like there's a lot of great ones. So I highly advocate for them. And I say to any actors, this is kind of a big thing. Like if you want to get started, I highly recommend you join the Voice Acting Club Discord server. This is run by Kira Buckland. I could sing praises about Kira all day long, but she created it. It's a great community. You can find casting calls. You can get like tech help. You can learn a lot of things from it. Like I joined there when I was starting out, and Kira like really helped me and a lot of those people in that server. And a lot of them are still my longtime friends too. So I really have nothing but praises to sing about the Voice Acting Club. Just a great place all around. And a great place to get yourself started as a performer, especially in voice acting.
And I want to add, in the past, years ago, people used to underestimate indie games. But I think at this point, we all learned that indie games, and even the industry, Nintendo's, PlayStation, they already learned that indie games is a big market, important, with great product to bring. Best example, Five Nights at Freddy's Fright Houses. Now,
yep.
That's the top of the line example of how indie game. And let's not mention Fortnite and all these games that are Genshin Impact is an indie game too, right?
No, it's actually done. No, it's an actual title like that's been it's created by MiHoYo. They make like a lot of gacha titles. Not only that, they made Honkai Star Rail, which is another great title. That's definitely it wasn't an indie title. It was always kind of there, but I think But no, I definitely think it's funny because I went to a GameStop one day, and I actually went on the shelf, and there was a game that I know was an indie title initially called Chris Tales, and I remember seeing that, and I was like, and I auditioned for it, funny enough, and I remember seeing it, and I'm like, wow, this is so cool, like seeing this title on the shelf, and like knowing that it got actually a physical release on a console. That's how awesome it is, and like it's just so good. It's so cool. I like really love seeing too. Yeah, Undertale definitely. That was another one. Those were big ones that really grew. And Deltarune, another one. And you mentioned Five Nights at Freddy's, of course. That really blew up. There's a lot. Oh, which one?
You know, I said that blew up the industry.
It did, and now it's got a movie.
Mm-hmm.
Which was good, and it did way better than many Disney movies, believe it or not.
And they have already planned to do a sequel anyway.
Not surprising.
So, yeah.
I know this isn't about that kind of movie, but I can't believe that FNAF made that budget in the big screen when they released it at the same time in the streaming service. Like, I'm like, how in the hell? Like, I mean, guys, learn from this.
Power of the community.
Yep.
For real, I think that's the right answer.
Real, yeah.
That's the fans right there. Patrick, any closing words or any advice you would give to anybody who wants to start in the industry or get into it?
I say the biggest thing that I tell any actor who comes to me and says they want to get involved in voiceover or acting in general, just do it. You know, get involved, try it out. And, you know, if it's not for you, that's fine. I think that there's a lot of things that, you know, people have tried and sometimes it doesn't work out. Like I've tried streaming and I've realized I'm not really the best at streaming, but I tried it. But also, and that could be the same for acting too. And I think that as long as you try it, and you really enjoy it and you want to pursue it further, I think that's great, and you can do it all the time. And even if you don't want to do it professionally, you can also do it as a hobby, because there's no shame in that. I will say, if you do want to do it professionally, I think that you do need to make a little investments. Like, you need to invest in the equipment, you need to invest in the training, you need to invest in, like, the studio space. I mean, probably not, you could even build, I have this, but you could probably like make something better for like cheaper. I literally recorded out of a blanket fort for the past few years before I moved, and that worked immensely well. So I think it's really, that's the biggest thing I'd say. I'd say also with acting, go get involved in your local theater, go take acting classes at school, join your local choir if you can. But if you also want to get involved online and get involved in VO online, like, get involved, meet some people, join the voice acting club, as I've said, audition for projects, and just meet. I think that's the biggest thing also, is meeting people, and make your own stuff for fun. I think that there is a lot of ways that you can get involved in this online community. And I think that ultimately it's going to help you a lot. And I think that, I mean, I started off doing this without a lot of like, I was different from a lot of other people when I started, because I didn't go into this with like a big acting background or education. I just went into it because it was something that I wanted to do, and I just took it by the horns and went with it. And everybody's path is different. And, as long as you work hard on it and you enjoy it, that's what matters most. That's the biggest thing I can say to a lot of people. But yeah.
Amen to those words.
Amen.
That's great. And Patrick, where can people follow you?
If you guys want to follow me on social media, you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, on Patrick Maley VO. You can also check out my website, patrickmaley.net. If you also want to just get in touch, you can send me an email at pmealeyva@gmail.com. That is PMEALEYVA@gmail.com. I'm always excited to hear from people. I always love answering questions about, like, stuff related to VO or just anything really. And, if anybody ever wants to talk, like, just let me know. I'm down for it. But yeah, this was definitely a lot of fun. I enjoyed getting to come on this thing, and I appreciate you guys really bringing me on here. Like I said, I was really surprised when you sent me this email, and I hope that there will be a lot more stuff in the future. I do hope that there will be more. I'll get to work on more shows. I hope that I'll get to do other cool things, and I just think I'm just hoping like that for the future there's a lot of cool stuff coming up. I'm really excited for that.
We wish you so much the best, because
Thank you.
Honestly, we are personally extremely excited about seeing your future growth. And not only that, like, whenever we interview somebody and they're just like you starting out, and then we see them land these roles, like role after role after role, and we're like, oh, we know that voice. We've interviewed that voice. That's so cool. It just makes it all the best.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I think it's so fun. Like, and especially when I saw you guys like on the names on the channel that you guys like interviewed, like obviously Donna Bella Lipton. Is that how you say the name? I'm so bad with like remembering that name.
Donna Bella Lipton. Yeah.
Lipton. Thank you.
Because I always kept saying Lipton in Spanish. I'm like, no. She's like, it's Lipton. Like,
yeah.
Or they. She kept saying it was Lipton, and was like, I'm so sorry.
Yeah. And then like
I'm trying to switch my brain.
I've been watching like a lot of the stuff that they did in Oshinoko, and I was so blown away by that. And of course, Jack Stansberry and Natalie Van Sistine, of course, and Bradley Gareth, like all wonderful, wonderful actors. And I think I look up to all of them, and I've met them in this community, and I always like am cheering on their successes, because they are just so freaking talented. Like, especially Natalie. I've been loving seeing Natalie's like everything with her is Yor and Spy Family and everything.
Oh yeah.
Freaking love Spy Family.
Such a good one.
It is, right? And Oshinoko is great too.
Oh yeah.
Let's not talk about Gundam with Witcher Mercury, because we're going to need another 30 minutes for that.
Yeah, that's another thing I voiced in, by the way. I was a bunch of voices in the background for that, and that was a fun one to work on, definitely.
And to watch.
Yeah. No, I loved Witcher Mercury.
So if you have any problem recording, taking notes, you have any problem taking a note from Patrick links, just go down to the description button, expand the description, you're going to find all his website over there. We just click, get his email, get his website, everything just described. And because you already spam the description, hit the subscribe and like button on our channel, YouTube channel, and also go to our social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube very important, please, Twitch, and Threads. We're trying to survive there. We never know what's going to happen in Twitter, so any social media going to find us with different content. So, Patrick, thank you so much for joining us. It has been great.
Thank you guys for having me.
Thanks to you. And we will see you guys in the next episode. Sayonara.
Bye everybody.